Welcome back to the Third Lane Podcast. This is probably going to be one of the second to last one or last one in here, as I'm hopefully going to have the podcast studio back for this semester. The episode's kind of late because my allergies were kicking me in the face, still are. But yeah, today won't be a super long episode, hopefully. We're just going to cover the playoffs and the NFL coaching searches, and some news will come with that. So starting off, the Texans played the Chargers. And it was 32-12. And man, that was a butt whooping. Justin Herbert didn't play well. Threw 4 picks. The running game, I wasn't huge on J.K. Dobbins being that true runner. Clyde McConkey had 9 catches, 197 yards. Playoff rookie record, mind you. But they did. The Texans played good football. They harassed Herbert, 4 sacks. Will Anderson had a sack and a half. The team played well. I don't think they can go far. They're playing the Chiefs, I'm pretty sure. And I don't see them winning that game. Just because the Chiefs' defense and secondary is going to take away Nico Collins. And after that, there's no one really else there they can use. But next up, backtrack. The Chargers, they've got to address the offense. They need another weapon. They need another running back. I believe they need to go out and get a tight end and then draft. This is a deep running back class. There's about 5 rookies that could start. Draft one of them, either a Caleb Johnson or a Marion Hampton. And in the first round, you get a Harold Fanning, a Colson Loveland, or Tyler Warren. Because obviously, your offense, you take away those 4 picks, that's 28 points. It's a lot closer of a game. And one of them was a pick 6 by another Georgia Bulldog, Kamari Lassiter. It just wasn't good. The Chiefs, but the Texans will play the Chiefs, and this will be interesting. The Chiefs have gotten really healthy as the season wore on, and that's scary. So you're just going to have to see. The issue is Joe Tooney's going to be out at left tackle. The left guard situation or the guard situation is going to be interesting where he moved from. Also, how will he fare on left tackle going against, Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson? Will he be fast enough to go up against those guys? Now, good thing is they have him going up against Chris Jones, so it's iron sharpening iron. But it just doesn't, I don't know. It'll be an interesting matchup. I still think the Chiefs win. Next up, the Ravens played the Steelers, and man, the Steelers look bad. They need another receiver and probably another running back. Najee Harris just isn't getting it done. Jalen Warren has been underwhelming this year. It's just, he had less yards than last year. He just wasn't as explosive as he was last year. It's a bit of a shame. He's more of a pass-catching back this year. I think they just kind of need, the offensive line, obviously, is set. You got to get George Pickens in line, and then you need another receiver. Calvin Austin's your slot. You have your tight ends. You just need to fix the running back room. And you got to figure out who's going to be your quarterback. Because I don't think Russell Wilson long-term is him. So you have to determine, are you okay with Justin Fields? And the defense for the Steelers was non-existent. One sack. TJ Watt had 0 tackles or anything. And that is alarming. For the Ravens, they played pretty good without Zay Flowers. Isaiah Likely showed up. A weird year from Isaiah Likely. I wanted to see more from him. He had a great first game, 110 yards receiving, and I thought he could be tight end number 1. He faded as the year went on, but he has immense talent. I love what I see from Likely. Him leading the team in receiving yards, I think he can do all the time. Tylan Wallace, I think, is a very good, gadget receiver, having a career year as a receiver. This is a really good team. They still have Nelson Aguilar. Rashad Bateman's a really good number 2. And then, the backfield of Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson is just not fair. Do you know how they vetoed Chris Paul to the Lakers in the 2000s, early 2010s? Yeah, they needed to veto Derrick Henry to the Ravens because that's just unfair. Just not fair at all. Derrick Henry ran for 186 yards. Lamar ran for 81 yards and threw for 175. He only had 5 incompletions. It's just stupid. It's just not fair. But they'll be facing the winner of the Bills-Broncos game, and the Bills beat up the Broncos. And I think we all kind of knew this was going to happen. That front for the middle of the defensive line for the Broncos, I've had a lot of questions around. They look more like get you in passing situations. They could harass you, but not many big bodies, big buffy guys, and it was an issue. They got moved around. James Cook ran for 120 yards. Josh Allen ran for 46. Ty Johnson ran for 44. I mean, and then Curtis Samuel showed up. I forgot he was still on the team. He had a bit of a down year. Man, the fall-off of Curtis Samuel. He had 851 yards in 2020. He went to the Commanders and just still wasn't it. And now, I mean, he's relegated to a backup. Man, that's a shame. But, back onto the game. The Bills, they ran the ball hard. I mean, really, if James Cook can get going, and I think Stephen A. said this, the biggest X factor for the Bills is James Cook. If James Cook can get going, he can be a guy that gave you 60 receiving yards and 120 rushing yards. I mean, Josh Allen plays carefully. Josh Allen can sling it. Josh Allen's at his best when James Cook is at his best. We saw that end of last year and this year. And Keon Coleman only had 1 catch for 5 yards. And Amari Cooper had 2 catches for 8 yards. So once you get those bigger body guys going, I mean, they probably have the best tight end duo with Don Kincaid and Dawson Knox. Dawson Knox is a few years removed from a Pro Bowl. Khalil Shakur has taken off this year, showing that he's a really good receiver. He was a 5th-round pick out of Boise State. His development was huge, especially at the end of last year. Don Kincaid was a great pick. I mean, this team, they're loaded. And then defensively, Ed Oliver, Gregory Rousseau, Matt Milano, Teron Bernard, Daquan Jones, Cam Lewis has stepped up, Dwayne Smoot, Von Miller, A.J. Espinoza. And then you have Ed Oliver. 1, 2, 3, 4. You have 4 first-round picks on that off the D-line. And, it's just elite. I think this Broncos team is a year away. I think that defense is going to continue to develop. Obviously, Riley Moss and Pat Surtain locked down Keon Coleman and Amari Cooper. But, they need a better middle of their defensive line, I believe. And they probably need to work on getting another safety, which they'll probably address in the draft. And another receiver. I think Marvin Mims, though, I want to say this enough, and I don't think this has been highlighted enough. Marvin Mims has broken out the end of the year. Right, he finishes the year with 503 yards, 6 touchdowns. The 6 touchdowns is huge, but the 503 yards isn't nothing you're going to balk at. Now, he is the returner, I think, guy for the Pro Bowl. But let's just look at his games, right? December, month of December, he had 18 catches, 290 yards, 3 touchdowns. November, he had 10 catches, 110 yards, and 1 touchdown. He had 6 catches in September and October combined. He was not playing much. He's a 2nd-round pick. He went off the second half of the season, and they needed that. That helped propel that offense because he is a deep target. He's a great weapon in the slot. They can get a tight end or a guy in the other spot of Cortland Sutton. Maybe T. Higgins, maybe. But I'd go out and draft to get someone to build with his timeline. But T. Higgins would speed it up, and he's kind of older. He's that veteran presence, and he wants to be a number 1. So you add like a T. Higgins, and you just send it downfield. And that would be good. But I want to highlight Marvin Mims has broken out and played really great ball. He has 105 yards against the Browns, 103 against Cincinnati. 6 touchdowns is pretty good. Second half weapon. So, I just wanted to highlight that. They're a year or so away from, being there. But, yeah. The Bills beat the Broncos 31-7, and they will play the Ravens. And this is a great game I can't wait to see. The issue is whoever loses is going to get dogged on, and it's not fair. It's not fair. I understand why we're going to dog on them, but at the same time, it's not really that fair. I don't know who's going to win this. It's going to be a dogfight. I can't wait to watch this game. It's 5:30 Sunday. I'm probably going to be at work, sadly, but I'm going to be keeping up with it. But it's going to be a great game. Now, to the NFC. Probably the biggest, surprising game of the weekend. The Rams beat the crap out of the Vikings. 27-9. Sam Darnold didn't play terribly. They just didn't have a running game. Aaron Jones is not what he used to be. And if they're going to trade McCarthy, they need to get a running back. But, he's not. Aaron Jones isn't a scary running back. He's just not. I know they tried to get another little boost with Cam Akers. And Cam Akers wasn't what he was before all the injuries. He had a great rookie year, and his second year back. But then he got all upset with how he's being used with the Rams, so they traded him or cut him. And that ended up being a great move. Because Kyron Williams is him. But Cam Akers, it's a shame. But they took away, Addison and Jefferson for most of that game up until late had did nothing. Addison only had 29 yards receiving. They took him away. Tyler Higbee had a big game. Tyler Higbee feels like he should be 30-something. Yeah, he is 32. Been in the league for a long time. Tyler Higbee had as many receiving yards, almost as many receiving yards as in this one game as he did all year. All year. That is crazy to me. But, again, Puka Nacua. This is really good receiving core. You have Tyler Higbee, Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, Demarcus Robinson, Colby Parkinson, Jordan Whittingham, Kyron Williams, all in the receiving core. Also, Matthew Stafford, your quarterback. Kyron Williams has had himself a year, ran for 1,300 yards, 14 touchdowns. And then this defense had 9 sacks. Brandon Fisk, I think it was maybe the second best defensive player, third best defensive player in this rookie class with the half a sack. Dejuan Johnson, a sack. Kobe Durant, a sack. Akilo Witherspoon, a sack. Michael Hawk, a half a sack. Kobe Turner, 2 sacks. Byron Young, a sack and a half. Neville Gallimore, sack and a half. They wrecked the game. And I want this should be more about the Rams defense and that front seven. When you wreck a game with your front seven and just be suffocating with your defense, you can play lights out, but if your line can't get a hold of the pass rush, it's over. It's over. And I think this said more about the Vikings need to fix their running game because obviously they were able to just tee off on Sam Darnold. But as well as maybe fix the offensive line somewhere, but something's got to be fixed there because they just 9 sacks is outrageous. They harassed him. Harassed Sam Darnold all weekend, which was a shame. Blake and also I want to highlight something. Blake Cashman, I think he had a good year. What was he? Never mind. I cut back to Blake Cashman. That's Brian Cushing. But they just harassed him. The hey, well, Sam Darnold regrets. It's all Sam Darnold. No, 9 sacks. That is an offensive line thing. What is Sam Darnold supposed to do? He needed help, and he just didn't get any. But the Rams would end up playing the Lions, the Rams would play the Eagles, who beat the Packers 22-10. In this game, it wasn't as close as the stats say. Jalen Hurts came back off his concussion injury. Jordan Love threw 3 picks. It's disappointing. Josh Jacobs did pretty good. But, again, the Packers are the youngest team in the NFL. They're going to have some growing pains. I mean, I really like this team. They need another leader. But, Tucker Kraft's a great tight end. They're deep at receiver. Jaden Reed, Dotavian Wicks, Romeo Doubs, Bo Melton, Christian Watson. This is a deep receiving core. And then the Eagles, Saquon Barkley. The Eagles they've got to win it all. You didn't let Saquon Barkley get it, so you've got to get the record. You've got to win the whole thing. And right now they're playing well. They have a receiving or passing attack where, if you were to tee off on Saquon Barkley, which I believe the Eagles have the best offensive line, Mekhi Becton went from being a bust to they moved him to guard because he got drafted by the Jets as a tackle. And he couldn't stay healthy, and he was too raw and making mistakes. And so the Eagles let him go. Not the Eagles, the Jets let him go, and the Eagles picked him up. Which, offensive line for the Eagles, we see teams in Major League Baseball fix pitchers and they go off. Man, the Eagles, Samalu and some other guys that have left. The one guy that went to the Titans, forgot his name, but they turned Landon Dickerson, Cam Jurgens, Jordan Mailata, never played football before, one of the best tackles in the league. But they take Mekhi Becton and they move him to guard. And he's been great. But he's so, I think helped change that run attack, putting him at guard, because I think they missed it last year when they lost one of those guards. Because I think they lost 2 of them, and Landon Dickerson stepped in. And Jurgens wasn't as good then. Jurgens needed that year to develop. Putting Becton, who is a big guy, another issue with him with the Jets was he was just so big. It was an issue. It was affecting his health, putting him on the outside, so they moved him to the inside. I think Mekhi Becton has the potential to be one of the top 5 guards in the league. He looks fantastic. And it's transformed this running attack. I think bringing him and Saquon Barkley in was huge. But yeah, they have a way to, if you take away the running game, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, and Jahad Dodson, that's a killer 4. Just going to go after you. Oh, and by the way, their backup tight end, Greg Caltera, really good tight end too. 5 guys that they're just going to tee off on you because they can. This offensive line great at pass protection, and Jalen Hurts, if he can stay within the structures of his offense, will do a great job. But they can play the Rams, and they're going to go up against a defensive front seven that is going to harass them of the Rams. Now, to the last game, an exhilarating game. I didn't see much of it. I saw the end. Commanders beat the Bucks. Jaden Daniels. The legacy goes on. Game-winning drive after game-winning drive. Baker Mayfield didn't play a terrible game. We have to remember, they're without Chris Godwin. Now, Jalen McMillan has come on. Mike Evans is him. Bucky Irving had himself a great game. But this is a team that, I don't know. The defense isn't what it used to be. They've lost a lot of guys. They've gotten kind of younger. But, Baker Mayfield threw 3 incomplete passes. I know he had that one fumble that pretty much ended the game, but, that still was a pretty close game. Donnie Brown leading the Commanders in receiving yards is crazy. McLaurin went nuts. Jaden Daniels. The Bucs stopped the run. The issue was Jaden Daniels was just harassing them with the passing game. Threw for 2 touchdowns. Jaden Daniels, if he's not Rookie of the Year, it better be Brock Bowers. It better be. It just better be. Jaden Daniels has played lights out. He won his first career playoff game. Who knows what he does next? Who do they play? They play the Lions, so he's probably going to lose. But, if he beat the Lions, it wouldn't shock me. I wouldn't be like, holy cow. But, I just don't see it happening. It would be a great game between them two, but I just don't see it happening at all. I think that'll be a great game. We're going to have some great games this weekend. because you have Eagles, Rams, Lions, Commanders, Bills, Ravens. I mean, the Eagles, Rams, and the Bills, Ravens going to feed generations. Eagles, Texans is going to be pretty good, and Lions, Commanders is going to be pretty good. But also, I forgot that this happened. College football playoffs. So it's going to be Monday. This is filmed on a Friday. It should be out on Friday afternoon. I'm going to edit this as soon as it's done. Notre Dame beat Penn State, and then in a thriller of a game, Ohio State beat Texas. And side note, Quinn Ewers has declared for the draft. I think that was stupid. Carson Beck left the draft, and then within 24 hours of leaving, transferred to Miami. Kind of foreshown. Side note on that, and I want to be able to say this, and then we'll go back to the game. Reports came out that Carson Beck's relationship with his girlfriend was destructive to the locker room, and it frustrated a lot of players because his attention wasn't really on the game. And that was evident with his play on the field, because he's filming TikToks midweek in Miami. It's a bit of an issue. But, he's back in Miami now. Georgia's going to move on. But Texas, they fade late in the game, and it's a bit of an issue. They get away from the running game. Both teams did. I will say, Jahdae Barron played a great game. I think he's now a first-round corner. He took away Jeremiah Smith. I like Jahdae Barron over Benjamin Morrison now. Jahdae Barron, they made sure Jeremiah Smith, I think he had 4 yards receiving, was out of it. Will Howard played a decent game, though, but the defense for the Ohio State was great. Zach Sawyer with the scoop and score. JTT with the sacks were just fantastic. They were just flying all over the field. But, let me look. Let me pull it up here. It's 28-14, but Quinn Ewers, he looked off at times, 23-39. They couldn't really run the ball at all. Neither team really could, but Quinn Ewers got outplayed by Will Howard. Cardinal Tate was huge. Travion Henderson with that at the end of the half, 1 catch for 75 yards was crazy. But Jaden Blue led the team in receiving yards. Matthew Golden, who now has declared for the draft, was second in the team receiving yards. Gunnar Helm was kind of non-existent. That offense needs more to do, and it's scary because Steve Sarkisian's getting looked at for NFL jobs, so you don't know what's going to happen with him. But this freshman for Texas, Colin Simmons, is going to be a problem. I can just say it now. Watch out for him. But I think Ohio State's going to win the Natty. They're going to play a good Notre Dame team, a really good Notre Dame team. Notre Dame is just really good defensively and make enough plays offensively to get the job done. Notre Dame tried everything they could to throw away this game. But Drew Allard, and I've never really understood the hype on Drew Allard. He had a pick, 12 of 23. Yes, they have no receivers, but they have Julian Fleming, who is a former number 1 recruit. They couldn't get anything done offensively. The receivers were terrible for Penn State. They all can only do is run the ball. Katron Allen and Nicholas Singleton, played their butts off. But Drew Allard, he should have had 3 picks. He just was floating balls in that should not have been floated in. Played terribly. Notre Dame, though, fought like heck. Greyhouse was amazing. The secondary for Notre Dame is legit, and it's going to be a great matchup to watch. I cannot wait to watch it Monday. I'll probably have an episode not Tuesday morning, probably next Friday come out. But, yeah, Notre Dame and Ohio State play for the national championship. It's going to be great. Now, NFL head coaching stakes. Add Mike McCarthy out of the Cowboys to that, and now they are looking at Kellen Moore and Dion. And I just told Pat McAfee that Kellen Moore would be the yes man, and Dion would be the Jimmy Johnson. I'm not comparing him. I'm not going to say he is Jimmy Johnson, but the Jimmy Johnson-esque, do your own. I'm going to do my own. spot. And it'd be interesting. Like, we know with the Saints, they're going Aaron Glenn. The Bears are looking at Mike McCarthy, which I think would be stupid. I think they need to go out and fork all the money over to Ben Johnson. I mean, this would be Ben Johnson's ideal situation. Patriots hired Mike Vrabel. Shocker. Ben Johnson may end up going to Vegas, which would be interesting. Oh, side note too, Deshaun Watson re-tours Achilles. Karma's a turd. But, the Bears, they looked at Pete Carroll, Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn, Ron Rivera, Vrabel, but he got hired, Anthony Weaver, Thomas Brown, which I would say Thomas Brown should keep some sort of major role. As an OC, their offense was great. Now, when he started off as the QB coach. They fired the OC. He gets promoted to OC. They're averaging like 280 yards a game offensively. Because he's doing so well, when they canned the head coach, they did promote him because they're like, well, he's doing so well already. Maybe we've got something here. Then it looks like he was overwhelmed with that much responsibility. The offense then said regress. I still think he should be something. I still think he should be brought back. But Arthur Smith was interviewed. David Shaw, former head coach at Stanford, was interviewed. Mike McCarthy was. Brian Flores is. Todd Monken would be a great. I think we're looking at some Todd Monken, Brian Flores. Aaron Glenn's going to get the Saints job, right? And then Ben Johnson is another guy who you got to look at. I think Todd Monken's going to get at some point because he's helped transform this offense in Baltimore. Now, the Cowboys, it's pretty much been down to Dion, Robert Saleh, and Kellen Moore was the former OC there, and then Dion was former player. It's going to be Kellen Moore or Dion. I would hate to see Dion leave Colorado, but I'd understand why. And there's this whole thing around, well, then you can cut Dak and trade for Shador. Would they do that, though? And would Moore handicap this team because you have to pay Michael Parsons? I don't know how that would work. I really don't know how. And really, how much more nepotism, I wouldn't say nepotism, but some sort of nepotism can Dion get away with in football? Because, his kids, if they did not play for him, would not have any run. Would not have near as much run as they've gotten. And I think because they're his kids, he's let this door open where they can play, develop, and whatever. Will that be able to continue in the NFL? We will see. If he becomes a coach, does he push this draft said kids? But you also Jacksonville, they've interviewed Steve Spagnuolo, which would be an interesting hire. Liam Cohen, Robert Saleh. I think Robert Saleh is better as a DC. Aaron Glenn, Ben Johnson. They're interviewing Kellen Moore, Todd Monken, or Joe Brady. Joe Brady, Brian Flores, or Todd Monken and Kellen Moore. All four they're interviewing now. I think would be good. I don't know if Brian Flores specifically, because Trevor Lawrence, you need to be in his ear. So it would be Joe Brady, Kellen Moore, and Todd Monken, just because they're such great offensive minds. And Joe Brady was with, LSU. He kind of stuck it up at the Panthers, but I think that's more Matt Rule. He becomes the OC with the Bills, and that offense takes off. I think Joe Brady would be great. I think it'd go Todd Monken, Joe Brady, Kellen Moore for that job. The three deserve it. Vegas, Ben Johnson has been interviewed there. Vance Joseph, I don't think Vance Joseph deserves it. Ben Johnson he got to go either Vegas or Bears. If not, he's got one more offseason before teams just pass him up. Because he can't just wait forever. But they're interviewing Todd Monken, Aaron Glenn, Steve Spagnuolo, and Pete Carroll. But again, I believe Aaron Glenn is going to the Saints. And I think Darren Rizzi should get the interim head coach should get something there. They're 3-4 without him. They had, I think, 2 wins before he became the interim head coach. He's done a great job. And then the Jets. They've interviewed Matt Nagy. Rex Ryan would be great there. Or they've also interviewed a Darren Rizzi. Darren Rizzi's kind of redid that locker room in the Saints, so I would that would be a good, interesting hire there. But of the people that, a Brian Flores, a Josh McCown, a former quarterback of the Jets would be good there, and of course Joe Brady. I'm high on Joe Brady. It would be very good to see him go there. But yeah, not as many. I think we'll see more head coaches get fired by the end of January, early February. I don't think we've seen enough being fired. You just got to see how it shakes up, where it kind of all goes, who else gets fired, and then teams pounce on those guys. But yeah, I said today wasn't going to be that long of an episode. I'm still kind of under the weather, so I'm not feeling that great. But yeah, I should be better next week. Thank you for watching. See y'all next time.